The terrorist attacks of 2001 were a tragic and defining moment in modern history, resulting in the deaths of nearly 3,000 people and changing the course of U.S. foreign policy and national security. While the official narrative of the attacks points to the involvement of Al-Qaeda, a number of conspiracy theories have emerged that challenge this explanation. In today's video, we will be showing you the truth behind 9/11's conspiracy theory. Without further ado, let's begin. On September 11, 2001, the world watched in horror as the United States experienced the worst terrorist attack in history. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives when 4 planes were hijacked by terrorists and flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. While the events of 9/11 have been extensively investigated and analyzed by experts and officials, there is a small but vocal group of people who believe that there is more to the story than the official narrative. This group is known as the 9/11's Truth Movement, and they believe that the government and other powerful entities were involved in the attacks. Background: the 9/11's Truth Movement began shortly after the attacks, with many people questioning the official story that 19 terrorists affiliated with Al-Qaeda had carried out the attacks. The movement gained momentum in 2004 with the release of the documentary film Loose Change, which presented a number of conspiracy theories about the attacks. Since then, the movement has grown and evolved, with various groups and individuals promoting their own theories about what really happened on 9/11. Theories. There are a number of different conspiracy theories associated with the 9/11's Truth Movement, but they generally fall into a few broad categories. One of the most popular theories is that the attacks were an inside job carried out by the United States government or other powerful entities. Supporters of this theory argue that the government had the motive to carry out the attacks, such as a desire to justify military intervention in the Middle East or to increase domestic surveillance and control. They also point to various pieces of evidence, such as the collapse of the World Trade Center buildings and a lack of damage to the lawn at the Pentagon, as proof that the official narrative is false. Another theory is that the attacks were orchestrated by Israel or other foreign governments, with the cooperation or complicity of the U.S. government. Supporters of this theory argue that Israel had the motive to carry out the attacks, such as a desire to increase American support for its actions in the Middle East. They'd also point to various pieces of evidence, such as the alleged involvement of Israeli intelligence agents in the attacks and the supposed absence of Israeli citizens from the World Trade Center on 9/11, as proof of their theory. A third theory is that the attacks were carried out by a group other than Al-Qaeda, such as the CIA or a rogue faction of the U.S. military. Supporters of this theory argue that the government had motives to carry out the attacks, such as a desire to justify increased military spending or to distract the public from other issues. They'd also point to various pieces of evidence, such as the alleged involvement of individuals with ties to the U.S. government in the attacks, as proof of their theory. Evidence. While the 9/11's Truth Movement has presented a number of pieces of evidence to support their theories, most of these have been debunked by experts and officials. For example, the collapse of the World Trade Center buildings has been attributed to the impact of the planes and the resulting fires, rather than a controlled demolition as some conspiracy theorists suggest. Similarly, the lack of damage to the lawn at the Pentagon has been explained by the low angle of impact of the plane, rather than a missile strike as some theorists suggest. Furthermore, many of the claims made by the 9/11's Truth Movement have been based on cherry-picked evidence or selective interpretation of the facts. For example, supporters of the inside job theory point to the alleged presence of explosives in the World Trade Center debris, but fail to acknowledge that these were likely caused by the impact of the planes and the resulting fires. Similarly, supporters of the theory that Israel was involved in the attacks point to the alleged presence of Israeli intelligence agents in the U.S. at the time of the attacks, but fail to acknowledge that there were intelligence agents from many different countries in the U.S. at the time. Debunking conspiracy theories. The vast majority of experts and officials in fields related to 9/11, including structural engineering, aviation, and intelligence analysis, reject the claims of the 9/11's Truth Movement. They argue that the evidence overwhelmingly supports the official narrative of the attacks and that the conspiracy theories lack credibility. Furthermore, many of the claims made by the 9/11's Truth Movement are based on logical fallacies or misunderstandings of the facts. For example, supporters of the inside job theory argue that the lack of damage to the lawn at the Pentagon is evidence of a missile strike. but fail to acknowledge that the low angle of impact of the plane would have caused minimal damage to the lawn. Similarly, supporters of the theory that the World Trade Center buildings were brought down by controlled demolition point to the presence of molten steel in the debris, but fail to acknowledge that this is a common occurrence in large fires. Additionally, it is important to note that conspiracy theories have a long history and can be harmful to society. They often rely on distrust of established institutions and authorities and can create a sense of division and paranoia within society. Conspiracy theories can also be used to spread misinformation and propaganda, which can have real-world consequences. Furthermore, it is important to acknowledge that the 9/11 attacks had a profound impact on U.S. foreign policy and national security. The attacks led to the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan and later Iraq, as well as the passage of the Patriot Act and other measures aimed at increasing domestic surveillance and counterterrorism efforts. These policies have been controversial and have led to debates about the balance between security and civil liberties. While the events of 9/11 were undoubtedly tragic and devastating, the claims of the 9/11 truth movement do not hold up under scrutiny. The overwhelming evidence supports the official narrative of the attacks, which was the result of a carefully planned and executed terrorist plot by Al-Qaeda. The conspiracy theories promoted by the 9/11 truth movement are based on cherry-picked evidence, logical fallacies, and misunderstandings of the facts. It is important to remember that promoting baseless conspiracy theories can be harmful, as they can distract from the real issues and undermine public trust in institutions and experts. Instead, we should focus on learning from the lessons of 9/11 and working to prevent future terrorist attacks. The official narrative of the 9/11 attacks has been extensively investigated and analyzed by experts, and the overwhelming evidence supports the conclusion that the attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda. We should strive to learn from the lessons of 9/11 and work to prevent future terrorist attacks, while also being vigilant against misinformation and conspiracy theories that can harm society. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. For more interesting content, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Have a nice day, and I will see you in the next video.